Hello there, Ray here, and joining me is KK, and him and I built this quadruple core oak tree farm. The main concept behind this tree farm is that in the very center we grow 4 oak trees, and we also have withers all within inside of where the trees will grow. This way we can immediately destroy the trees soon after they grow, and this makes the farm very different than most tree farms where you would move the trees or the logs out of the actual growing spot and into the withers. With the setup, we can now be able to remove the majority of the tree with just damaging these withers here. So this oak tree farm is a quadruple core oak tree farm. That just means there is 4 areas where we can plant saplings inside of here. Now this also means we want to try to give each sapling the most amount of bone meal possible. So we got 2 dispensers for each sapling here. And this will allow them to grow more quickly than just 1 dispenser. And this also means we don't have very much room to work with for the player to be sitting in here and placing down saplings, since we got withers staying around here as well as dispensers. So we came up with the idea to place a boat directly down inside of the dirt, which has the saplings growing on top of it. Now this boat can be accessed from the side over here, and by accessing the boat, the player is sitting inside the boat and he's sitting high enough so that his head is not inside the dirt, so he's not suffocating. Now, if the player, once the player is inside, he can click forward, and just about in this area here is a good place to aim, and he will be able to place 1 sapling. Then he can click on the hitbox of the previous sapling. This will place a sapling into his head. Now KK, if you want to turn the machine on, and once the machine is on, the player will be placing 2 saplings in one area. Then he'll be moved to the side and place 2 more saplings, and this will repeat. Now while he's placing saplings, when he gets moved over to the new area, the old area gets uprooted by the dirt getting pushed upwards. This allows it so that if any tree grows there, they get pushed out of the way, and then the player gets moved over to the new area to plant saplings. Now the player will take suffocation damage, and that's why we have a regeneration beacon as well as a resistant beacon. And just by using these 2 beacons, we're able to keep the player alive without having to use any food or armor, and this is done on hard difficulty. So this farm is AFK tree farm. This means that if you just have your right click button held down, then the player will automatically place the trees and they'll be harvested. So the way you get the button to be held down is you can do a trick like where you press the button, then you press F11, and then as soon as the screen goes dark, you lift up on your right click button. This will allow the screen to, or allow the game to automatically remember to keep your right button held down, and then this way you can just AFK and leave your computer. Surrounding the area where the saplings are being grown, there is withers, and the withers are being damaged periodically. Now the way they are being damaged is by some pistons which come in and push a block into their head, and they retract the piston and the block soon afterwards so not to be destroyed by the wither itself. But the withers are able to destroy the trees very quickly, and this way we can allow the wood to be removed very quickly and allow a new sapling to be placed in its place. Now the way that we have the tree being destroyed is that right before the blocks push the tree up, it will destroy any blocks. Since trees can be in heights of either 4 meters or 5 meters, we first destroy the top part of the tree, then we have the dirt down below pushing the last piece upwards. So then we damage the wither a second time to break that last piece. This way we can remove the majority of the tree, and then if there's a little piece left over, we can still plant the sapling and a new tree can still grow with inside that little piece, and this way we don't have to waste room as well as logs per hour. Once the trees grow up and are destroyed by the withers, then we have a large amount of area around the withers which will be able to collect any of the leaves that are broken by the withers, as well as the logs and any saplings that drop as well. So we got a bunch of hopper minecarts here over top of the dispensers to be able to pull the items off of this area, and we got a large area over here to collect any leaves that are broken. And then we have hoppers inside of all this as well. This mainly just collects the logs. Now any logs that fall into this area here, will be squished by the growing trees and will be pushed up into this area here. Now this area here is also being pushed by the tree. When trees grow, their leaves can come out here. This will push any items out this far, and there it will be collected by these hoppers. Now we have quite a few hoppers all around the farm just to collect the majority of the drops, and they're all brought towards the center here, and they're brought down in a couple different areas, but then they eventually reach down to this dropper system down here. This was built by KK. This is a very interesting dropper system, but what happens is the items are come in from these hoppers and they're placed into these droppers, and then we have these repeaters going over top of them by a clock, which is over on the side. Then the repeater is updating the droppers and allowing the items to transport through the droppers. Now we are in another dimension, so we don't have any water to work with, but using this method is excellent for this device here. And then the droppers will come across, and there is a normal item system underneath here, and I believe you have to have this like this, KK. That way the last dropper here gets updated as well. And then the items will come across enough time so that each of the sorters can pull out the selected amount of items. So we got like apples, and then your logs come as well. And then it comes to the very end, and then anything extra will come out here. Also, the saplings are sorted out beforehand. So over here we have a sorter which will sort out the saplings. And then once the saplings are sorted out, they are then transported upwards through this dropper system right here. And then they are taken up to where the player can be able to reach them. So they get shot out here, or they come over here and get shot right here. So the sapling's right here, and the player AFK is right here in this boat, so he's able to reach them. This way we can replenish the saplings so the player can continue to plant the saplings. Now these dispensers here are pretty simple. They are just go back to some dropper lines, and all the dispensers have bone meal inside them, and the bone meal just comes back to this chest. You can add on as much bone meal storage as you want. And they are all these droppers here are being clocked in by just some comparator clocks, which are on the side here. So we have one for each side. So over here you can see them as well, and they are coming up through the hoppers here and just updating these droppers so they can dispense out the bone meal. And these are leg friendly clocks because they are being ran on these cake, which put off a pulse of 3, I think. Is that what it is, KK? 4? Okay, yeah, these are 4. So this cake puts off a signal of 4. That way there's not so many updates per redstone dust. And then they just reach up in here and go over top of this hopper and update these droppers and dispensers here. We have one for each side, and we also have one down below for this repeater line here. Inside of the farm are 4 wither cages, which are holding in each of the 4 withers. So the main part of the wither cage is this bedrock cross formation here. And this is being out of the bedrock that comes out of the ceiling of the nether, which is what we're using. You can also use a lower layer of the bedrock if you want to as well, if you find a very specific location. And above them we have a piece of obsidian, and below them we have a piece of a 1.5 meter tall block such as netherrack or like a cobble wall. Now we also got the center of this cross area filled in by a piece of bedrock. And this way, if the wither gets pushed over while being suffocated, like this one is here, and one of his side heads shoots off a wither skull inside of here, it doesn't come in and accidentally damage the wither. If it would do that, then the wither would be able to get damage at unpredictable time, and he couldn't break the blocks that are using to suffocate him. And each of these withers are looking at 2 targets. The main head is looking at the target up above, which is an iron golem, and a nice little pin up here. And because it's closest to him, he sees that one first. Then we also allow the side heads to see a target as well. Now normally you wouldn't have the side heads have a target if they were completely in bedrock, but there is a chance that the side heads wither skulls can damage the wither inside here just by accidentally redirecting the skulls and damage him, and that would cause unpredictable damaging of the wither, which we do not want. So we give them a side target as well. So their target is over here behind this ender chest here, and that is an iron golem as well, sitting on top of an ender chest and our enchanting table, I mean. And you can also use 7 layers of snow if you don't want to use an enchanting table. And the golem is held pushed directly up against this block here, and this way they can actually see him, even though they're not like directly eye to eye. It's a little bit of an angle, but because he's right up against the edge, the wither here can still see him. And they use this red line here to see. If you would like to know how you could break bedrock so that you can get this kind of information out of this, I will link in the description to a couple videos where I show how you can use different methods to break the bedrock in very specific ways. The entire tree farm is ran off of this clock here. What we did is we checked to see what was the average growth time for a tree to grow in type of this formation. Because those blocks are here, these bedrock blocks, they restrict the growth of where the tree wants to grow, so it takes quite a bit more bone meal just to grow one tree. and we use that to create this clock here, which will allow us to grow the tree in that average amount of time. And then we just use it so that each time we would have the player sit on this side and grow the tree, and then move the player over and plant trees over here and repeat that process. Now we also have this timing going around and going to the leaf crushers as well as the damaging system. So the same timing goes around the entire system. And we also have a system that will come in and pull in these blocks, which will allow these clocks to turn on. And then we have another redstone, which come off the same clock to come down here. This will just move the player back and forth, as well as synchronize the player movement with the blocks, these dirt blocks inside, so that the player is moved into the area after the bed, or after the dirt blocks are pulled down. So we don't want to pull the player into the blocks while they're up in the air, or else they would give the player more suffocation damage that he needs. So that's what we set up here, and it's a pretty simple clock with a piston and the slime blocks going back and forth. This just moves the boat back and forth, and then on the sides we just have some redstone going to these pistons, which move each side of the dirt independently. This tree farm is capable of producing up to 17,000 logs per hour. This is pretty good considering the restriction which we have on the trees. We are also planning to make the same type of tree farm with the withers inside of where the tree grows, but instead use a entity only wither cage instead of using these blocks here, which restrict the tree growth and allow us to get a lower amount of logs per hour than we should be getting. When you build this farm, you want to make sure that the entire farm is pretty much sitting inside of one chunk. So we press F3 and G, we can see the chunk borders here, and the majority of this farm is all within inside of it. And most importantly, we want to keep the entities for the withers inside of it. So we got this iron golem, he's inside of it, right on the edge, and this wither over here, or this iron golem over here, is also on the edge of it, but he's still inside of it. So those targets are both inside of one chunk, as well as these targets as well. This just means that when the chunk is loaded, that the wither as well as their entities are all loaded at the same time. Therefore, the wither can find them. When reloading this chunk after it being unloaded, there is a small chance that when the wither is here shooting, that his wither skull will accidentally explode outside of this bedrock here. And because they're only black wither skulls, they will just cause a small damage to the area here, which could destroy this piston here or this piston here. This only occurs during reloading, and once you have loaded this area, you don't have this problem anymore. I think this is a really cool concept, having the withers inside of where the trees are actually grown, and we are looking forward to applying this type of concept to all the different types of trees, as well as other things that grow inside of Minecraft. The last automatic tree farm that I built was around 5 years ago when pistons came out, so it's been a while since I built a tree farm. But in designing this tree farm with KK, I had a lot of fun doing this, and I plan on building quite a few more, especially with this cool concept that we came up with. So if you'd like to check out KK's channel as well, I will link that into the description, and he does Minecraft videos as well as technical stuff in Minecraft, so check him out there. If you would like to build this for yourself, we will provide the world download for this in the description, as well as a link to the structure blocks. So if you know how to use the structure blocks, and you can put this in there, and you could have the structure block generate this for you. There you have it, guys, a quadruple core oak tree farm. So if you found this interesting, show me with a like. If you'd like to see more contraptions like this, subscribe, and don't forget to comment. Bye bye!